I grew up in a home with three brothers, two older, one younger, and from the oldest to the youngest, we were only 6.5 years apart in age. So we were all very loud and rambunctious. I was a tomboy. My mom babysat a lot to earn a little bit of an extra income. But what that meant was our house was always full of people. And when we weren't filled up with people, we were often at friends' houses as a family doing family game nights or hanging out with the kids while the grown-ups were off doing something. So I always had lots and lots of people surrounding me, and I loved that. I loved the noise and the chaos that came with having a bunch of children running around. And from the time I was little, I wanted to be a mom. I remember when I was in kindergarten or first grade, and we were asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I want to be a mommy." And whenever I turned 11 years old, I got my first job as a mother's helper. I would go to these people's house, and it was so much fun. They lived on a farm, so we would go visit the animals. We went into their hay lofts and made hay mazes, and we'd rope swing. We would eat lunch outside. We just had so much fun. And I remember when the mom would pay me every time. I was surprised because I was having so much fun. I'd forgotten I was getting paid. It was what I loved doing. Then, when I turned 16, I was going through some health issues and some things. My mom took me to the doctor trying to figure out what was going on. And I was diagnosed with endometriosis. One of the things that comes with endometriosis is generally a difficulty to conceive children. And I was told at that time that I may never be able to conceive children. It wasn't really that big of a deal to me. I remember just thinking, well, that's not a problem. I'll adopt. I've always had a huge heart for adoption, and one of my best friends was adopted. I just thought it was a beautiful thing. And as a teenager, I didn't understand that adoption often comes from tragedy and lots of heartache first that lead up to that. But it didn't matter anyways. To me, a family was a family, regardless of how they became a family. So it was no big deal. I'll just adopt. Not a problem. I did tell my husband when we were dating, I said, I may never be able to have biological children. And he said, he had the same reaction. He said, that's okay. If you can't have children, we can adopt. It is not a problem. So we got married when I was 19 and he was 20. That was almost 15 years ago. And we were actively preventing pregnancy. In addition to that, since I had been diagnosed with endometriosis, I knew even without prevention that I would probably never be able to have children. So imagine my shock and my extreme surprise less than 2 months later after our wedding day that I discovered I was pregnant. I was simultaneously terrified because we'd been planning on waiting 5 years to start having children, and just we weren't planning it or expecting it, but at the same time I was ecstatic because here I'd been thinking this whole time I may never have children, or if I do conceive it's going to be very, very difficult, and here it was just a gift handed to me, and I could not wait to tell my husband. I could not wait to tell other people. And the reaction that I received was not what I expected. I was told things like, don't you know what causes that? You guys should have waited longer. You're still a kid yourself. You can't be a parent. How are you going to afford a baby? Haven't you ever heard of birth control? These are the comments that were given to me whenever I was already, again, I was excited about being a mom, but I was nervous. And those comments kept coming. Some people were really encouraging and excited for us and just really, really wonderful. And those people were a lifeline to me. But the people who were discouraging were feeding into feelings of fear that I already had, and they were making those fears grow. And it got to a point where I just felt like maybe I did something wrong. Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't be pregnant yet. Maybe I am too young to have kids. Maybe I'm still a kid myself. What do I think I'm doing? What do I know? I don't know about how to be a parent or how to do these things, and I just felt the disapproval. Those voices stood out in my mind so much more than the voices of the people who were encouraging. And those people who were encouraging, they helped me through that. That carried me through some of the harder days. But those voices were much softer and quieter. And it got to a point where I was so terrified, and this was still in the early weeks of pregnancy. I was maybe 8-10 weeks along. And it was the disapproval, actually. Initially, I was met with much more disapproval than I was with encouragement. And I felt like I just don't know what I'm doing. They're right, I'm wrong. I shouldn't be a mother yet. And then I started thinking, looking things up and thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And it got to a point where I decided, they're right, I'm not right. I shouldn't be pregnant. This was a mistake, or it was an accident, and this isn't supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to be a mom until I'm old enough to be a parent. And because at the time I was still 19. And I decided that I was going to terminate my pregnancy. I didn't tell anybody. I decided that I've never said these words out loud before. I decided that I was going to end my pregnancy in abortion, and that I was going to pretend it had been a miscarriage. And that way I wouldn't be disapproved of by people who didn't think I should be a parent yet, but then who also didn't believe in abortion at the same time. These were pro-life people, actually, people who would tell you abortion's wrong, but they were discouraging me in my own pregnancy. So I had looked up different ways and different methods of going about terminating the pregnancy, and I don't remember everything that I read. I only remember the method that I had decided I was going to use. And then, but I decided in the meantime, I had only taken a home pregnancy test at this point. I hadn't been to the doctor. But you know what? I'm going to just go to the doctor first and just make sure I'm actually pregnant before I take steps to end the pregnancy. And I went to my first doctor appointment. My husband was with me, and again, he didn't know what I was thinking about doing. I was young, we were broke, we hardly had enough money to pay for our own bills every month, and the thought of adding the financial burden of a child for my husband to feel that provider instinct, to feel like he needed to provide, I didn't want to burden him. And so we made an appointment, went to the doctor, and what I didn't know was they were going to do an ultrasound. And up until this point, I've been thinking, I'm not ready to be a mom yet. You know, this is, I can have a kid in a couple years, and I'll be ready then. So I can end this now, and I can still be a mom later. And then whenever they did the ultrasound and I heard the heartbeat and I saw the image on the screen, and at first I didn't know what I was looking at, and they said, there's your baby's head, and there's the belly, and those are the arms, and there are the legs, and I could see my baby. And I could hear my baby's heartbeat. And all of a sudden I realized this isn't just some random fetus. This isn't just a clump of cells. This isn't just a random anything. This is my baby. This is my child. And every thought of terminating the pregnancy ended right there in that doctor's office. I still did face some discouragement from people, but the further along I got in my pregnancy, what I had not realized would happen was that people would get more encouraging. Like after the initial shock wore off, they got excited about an upcoming baby. And shortly after that doctor's appointment, I made an appointment at a pregnancy care clinic, which a lot of times are for single women, but since I just felt like I needed extra help more than just what they're going to provide at the doctor's office. So I made an appointment, I went there, and I was really, really thankful for them. They never acted like I was too young to be a mom. They didn't act like I had no business doing what I was doing. They made me feel empowered, like I can do this, I can be a mom, I can take care of my child. And they went through every single appointment. They would show me little videos of this is where your baby is in development, and this is about how much your baby weighs. And they talked with me about nutrition and about what to expect whenever the baby comes home, and just all these different things. They really helped to educate me. As much as I've been around children when I was growing up, I didn't have much experience with infants, or obviously with the 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, 18 years nonstop care for a child. So they helped get me mentally ready for that, bringing home a baby. And they also had what was called baby bucks. So every appointment I went to, every time I brought a weekly church bulletin, there were different things that I could do that I would earn baby bucks. And then they would take me downstairs to this basement, and it was a room filled with baby clothes and pack and plays, diapers, wipes, baby wash, just everything you could possibly need. I believe there were even maternity clothes in there, if I'm remembering correctly. There were lots of gently used. A lot of the clothes were gently used. They were donated by women in the community. But they kind of held my hand and guided me through that. And here's the thing about that. My baby, when I was considering that when I was 19, what I didn't realize is that abortion is normalized in our society. People say it's about women's rights and it's about empowering women. The women who go get abortions, they're not going because they feel empowered. They're going because they feel lost and weak and alone and fearful. I felt isolated. I felt like I was the only 19-year-old newlywed in the history of the planet to ever become pregnant. I had no idea just how many people there are out there. It doesn't matter what we're going through. We are never the only ones. There are always people. But that's the thing. It's that isolation. When we feel isolated and alone and ashamed, that's when we make poor choices, because we're trying to hide whatever it is that's making us feel ashamed. But when we can bring that out to light, we are told in the book of John chapter 8 that we will know the truth, and the truth will set us free. And when we can know the truth about our choices, we can be free. And if you are thinking about getting an abortion, I want you to know this. I never told anybody until just now, I'm telling you, about my thoughts and the things that I had thought about doing whenever I was first pregnant with my daughter. Just knowing that I thought about doing that has brought me so much guilt and shame, and I've been silenced. I've silenced myself because I don't know how people will react. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how other people react. What matters is that you feel empowered to make the right choices. That baby, I almost that I considered aborting. She's going to be 14 years old in 2 months. I have never one time wished that I had gone through with it. But you know what? If I did go through with that, I would have missed so much. I would have missed her. She would have missed this life. And it would have been my fault. A friend recently said to me, we saw the movie Unplanned, which I highly recommend if you are considering an abortion. Just please go watch that movie first. Let it educate you so you know what you're doing. My friend said to me, she said, when people walk into an abortion clinic, they don't always know what they're doing. But when they walk out, they know exactly what they just did. You walk into that clinic, they will make you think, they will normalize it. They will make you think that you're empowering yourself, that a baby will be an inconvenience, that it's just a fetus, that it's just a clump of cells, that it doesn't feel any pain, that you won't feel any pain, that you won't regret it. Those things aren't true. They're not true. But they can trick you. They trick people. They don't present the facts in a true, factual, real way. They twist facts and sometimes they flat out lie. And the thing is, those girls, when they go in there, they're believing those lies. But then they have that abortion. And they know exactly what they did. They know the truth. And it's too late. And I think more people don't talk about it because it's shameful. We are often, like I said, we feel alone and we feel ashamed, so we don't tell anybody. But we need to tell people. If you have had an abortion, you need to talk to the people who are thinking about it so that they know the truth. And if you are thinking about an abortion, I highly recommend that you call. You can Google for your local pregnancy care clinic. Go to them first. Let them show you. Don't be ignorant going into an abortion, because you will not be ignorant coming out. You will know. Don't live with that regret. At least get the information first. Inform yourself. Go into that clinic. They will show you scientific facts. They will show you the development of your baby. Talk to the people there. Let somebody be a voice of reason in your fear. Let them help to empower you. Get an ultrasound. Don't make a decision uninformed. You will forever regret it if you do. Psalm chapter 139, verses 13 through 18. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret, and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed. In your books they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. Did you hear that? You formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I was fearfully and wonderfully made. When I was made in secret, your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed. Babies are not mistakes. God has a plan for every human being. God has a plan for your baby. Maybe that plan is for you to raise your baby. Maybe that plan is to allow a family who can't conceive or who just wants to adopt, who has a heart for that, to let them raise your baby. But your baby deserves to live. Your womb. As mothers, we protect our children. And that baby is in your womb right now, being protected, being comforted by your heartbeat. Not a care, not a worry in the world, because it is safe with you. You can make the choice to keep that baby safe. If you need help and you have nowhere to turn, you can contact me. I will help you. I will help you find resources. I care about you. I care about your baby. Whether you've already had some and don't think you can handle another, or you are an unwed teenage girl, or maybe like me, you were married and nobody would ever suspect that you would even think about that, but you just don't know what else to do. Please contact your pregnancy care clinic. Contact me. I will help you personally walk you through this. I know God had a plan for my baby's life. And I know that God has a plan for you and for your baby's life too. Thank you.